Adventure Module Tutorial Series Episode 1. Consider the previous episode in this playlist as a bonus episode. If you wish to rename your monster AI as shown in that video, even if only for your own use, please do that. If not, it's up to you. Before following these tutorials, please make sure that you have watched and have an understanding of the new 8-Bit Heroes tutorials, Adventure Module, Intermediate, and Advanced. Make sure you've watched both those tutorials. Assuming you've done those tutorials mentioned above, we'll continue. Number 1. I have this forecast as a module or module expansion, so to speak. I highly suggest that you do the following. Copy and paste your mod adventure base folder and rename it mod your project name or mod adventure ex. You would copy this folder, you would rename this folder as either this folder or your project folder. It should have everything in there. My version, since I did the tutorial, has all the extra stuff in there from doing the tutorial. If you plan on not doing any of this, but are just learning how this module works from the future, well then, hello from the past. I hope everything is going well in your current time period. Also, you only have to download and install everything in the module, so forget step 1. I will have a download of these files separate in a folder after each tutorial, showing all the edits done and possibly making things easier for you. If you are familiar with my other tutorials, this is not anything new to you. This is how I do things. Business as usual. So you'll get a link to these files. Other than that, it's going to be a long one. So sit back, get yourself a cold drink, and I hope you enjoy. Right now I would queue up Roundabout, but I'm afraid because of copyright issues I will not be doing that. Part A. Bank switching to save more space. Download the NES Space Checker by Shiru at this link. Install to a folder on your desktop. Some of you who know me know that I'm a fan of making backups, so I make a backup in a folder that I use called NESmaker Extras on my desktop. That's something that you can choose to do, or I made a copy of it in my NESmaker folder in a folder called Emulator. So here in my NESmaker folder, and Emulator, I paste. From the desktop, right there, You could start it up, and from your same folder that you were in, emulator, you can check your game right there in your emulator folder, and that will be your most recent game file. As you see, most of these are empty, except for the most part, PRG16, PRG18, PRG1B, PRG1C, and PRG1F. Using the space checker as we did, the labels that you'll notice for 1F and 1C, these banks are notorious for being nearly full by default in virtually every NESmaker module. That is why this information that I'm giving you is possibly used in other modules. This forum topic by James NES can save space in virtually any project. So if you follow this forum topic link right here, you'll notice when you follow this link, it's for move the do load screen to bank 16. You notice on here, bank 16 has some stuff in there. So it might not be the best place, but for now, I'm going to follow this and try to save some space. So this is what we currently have before we do this. I'm going to keep this open. I'm going to be including a text file with a bunch of helpful forum topics on bank switching to help educate us. You can peruse these at your leisure. Kasumi makes a good example and explains here, and this one link right here. And they explain about these drawbridges laid out parallel to each other that only one can be down at a certain time. And if you're on the bridge, say when it's down, then you're fine. But if it goes up and you're on the bridge, then you would fall and die or something like that. It's kind of like an analogy to the code crashing the game or just not working in general. And when they're up, they're completely gone, and then they come back. I don't know. They make the analogy. You can read this and follow, and it's a good analogy to follow. So below, I've copy pasted a quote from one of the forums, I believe by Cuttercross, or I don't know from which I got this. I believe it was Cuttercross, though, on the forums, mentioned the current bank contents. That some things did move, but generally they're similar to how they used to work. So this will kind of give you an idea of what's in what banks. So like, for example, the information that's in bank, say 16, is probably your pallets bank. That's why so much is in here. Um, but it also contains the addresses for graphics and text strings. So, maybe you might want to move some stuff here and there and check out what works for you and your project mostly. Um, if you don't need a routine to be always loaded across bank switches, don't put it in the 1F. Like if you don't need to do a routine and you already in the middle of a bank switch, just put it in a different bank, switch out to the bank, JSR to the bank, 18 every frame. So that's uh, a prime area for dumping routines into, for example. Um, Somebody comes up with a solution on here that's a pretty good example of a basic way to. This example would, if you followed the Adventure Advanced tutorial, when Joe was teaching about, oops, when he was teaching about the script defines, this person did a script define like this to kind of solve their problem. Um, this is kind of how they solved their problem. I switched to bank 1D because for them it was empty. 18 works, because that's pretty much empty as well. If you check out your project, you'll see that those are generally pretty empty. This one's 75% full or empty, and yeah, 1D is completely empty here. So if they were, for example, using the same module as us, then that would be a great way to do things, as long as it still worked. Because keep in mind, there's these things you might want to keep in mind. Mouse even says sometimes bank switching makes scripts behave weird. You can sometimes code your way out of it with extra instructions if you know what you're doing. That's a good way to put it. In this video, because I'm putting all these files for you um, to peruse at your leisure, you can check them out and do what works for you if you want after all this. But I'm not doing the solutions above. Rather, I'm just doing that link previously mentioned that James NES does. And we're going to try that out and see how that does, trying to reduce the static bank. It says saved it like 15%, or maybe makes it 15% from where it'll be, or maybe somewhere around there. At least something like that might help. If it helps and it doesn't affect anything negatively, then what's the harm, right? Um, the solution for generally most games was suggested by Drexiger originally, and unfortunately, I did not take his advice for the longest time, and I ended up running into some problems down the road. And Dale Coop told me eventually that I should definitely check this out, try this out. It's fairly simple, instructions to follow. And if you have any problems, then, just leave a comment at the bottom here and people will help you work it out, especially me if I see it on these forums. All right, but yeah, I was told it was fairly easy instructions to follow by Dale, so I followed them. And with my Nightmare Castle project, which is, it's not an adventure game, it's actually a arcade platformer, I followed these and it helped out a lot. So let's see what it does. One last look at this. This is the previous check of these. You could pause the video and go through again if you have to. This is showing how full they are before. And I made a backup for later for us to compare. Just renamed it game before. He says, after sharing it with Cluckfox and Bucket Mouse in the Discord, together they figured out moving a big chunk of do load screen ASM into bank 16 is possible and saves a ton of space in the static bank, like 15%, which ends up being a lot when it comes down to it. So first you need to copy out a middle section of the do load ASM. By default, that's line 50. If you look down here at the end, it says if your line counts don't match these, you might be able to help find the right spot to put it. All this stuff. So make sure that your line counts do match. And read this. Make copy a backup of your do load screen. Also, what I'm going to suggest doing, if you look in game subroutines, you'll see do load screen in here. So just making that copy, pasting it to your folder in subroutines. We could even rename it. I'm going to rename it do load screen _ adventure EX. That way when we make edits, it'll be to that file and not the original. So let's tie that into our project. If you have the module, then this is most likely unnecessary steps because this should already be done when I make this module for everyone. You go to subroutines. I don't see do load screen there. So we're going to have to make our own script define. So we name it custom do load screen. Or you could even do like do it like this if you want it to look kind of like the but it doesn't matter what you make it look like. So scr do load screen. All right, now your game, if you were to run it as Joe says, it's not going to run properly. So we got to leave that for now. You can define it with the do load screen that we just made, that we put in the subroutine folder. Still not going to run properly when you do that. So lo and behold, if you look into the load all subroutines ASM, you'll notice that it has an include for do load screen. So we're going to change that location it refers to. Start by commenting out that line. And then we could put something like custom do load screen here. And then we would put the include with this here. You would not even matter what this is. This is what matters. And as long as you have, the location of what your file is there. So in here, you would put tab.include just like these. Just like this. You would put that there. That way, we are not editing the original file and messing up any of our other games that we want to put in here. That's something that I did wrong when I was making Nightmare Castle, so all up to this point I was not paying attention to that tutorial that Joe did on Advanced when he was talking about these. As you see, the game compiles. Game works just fine. As the tutorial shows. Stuff works. Game doesn't crash. That way we can edit this file now. So, now you edit this file according to what he tells you in here. Unless you're downloading the module. Like I said, hello from the past. Hope things are cool. Because everything from the module will be included. So here's this. Now we're going to follow the steps. And if you follow all his instructions, he has you make a file called doLoadScreen16.asm. I suggest you just make a copy of even a blank file or the current one and just name it doLoadScreen16.asm right now. So here's doLoadScreen16. I just copied that one. I'm just going to delete it now because it's unnecessary. But he has you copying stuff, so if you technically deleted only the stuff you weren't going to copy, then, it would have saved you that effort, I guess. Continuing. Alright, so you put that at the top of the file. Then you take all that code that he tells you to cut out and paste right in there. So all this, from what I understand, you gotta take all this code and just cut it right out of there. Put it right there. Then he says, put RTS at the bottom. Save it in your directory. Just do load screen 16 ASM. So we're going to do that now. Save it. I put it in subroutines because it's a subroutine. Doesn't matter actually where you save it, really. Because we're going to refer to it when we make the script defined, just like we just did a few minutes ago with the other one. Alright, so then that one's saved. Go to the next step. Back in doLoad Screen ASM. At line 39, where we removed all that code, add this. What this says to do, switch to bank 16, do the do load screen 16, and then return to this bank. So it jumps between the banks, taking the code, putting it back and forth basically, really quick. I'm going to try it here at 50 and see what happens, because 50 is where he told you to remove the code from. Alright, so save it. Then he tells you need to include the new file in bank 16. So in NESmaker, project settings, script settings, you do the define, and he wants you to fill it out like this. So here we are. Go down to subroutines, because we're adding a subroutine. Or actually, no, we're not adding a subroutine. We're adding a bank. I don't know why I was talking about putting that in the subroutines. It's a bank. Do load screen 16, I believe, is like a bank 16 type of deal. Let me double check that. Yeah, it's kind of like he says open up bank 16, and he wants you to add something to bank 16. So it's definitely bank 16. We're gonna be changing, but this is going to be in the subroutine still. So I was not incorrect there. Bank 16 we're going to make a copy of eventually and do that. So right now, all we're going to do is just make this. Subroutines. Go to add. Load screen bank 16. Then he says the define will do the SCR load screen 16. Alright. Then in there, we're going to obviously take that subroutine for load screen 16. Ta-da! So we did that. Now he wants that copy. Open up that bank 16, which we're going to copy. So if you go back here to system, you see bank data? See all your banks are in here. Go to 16. Copy that. Go to that folder. Put that right here, just like we did with 1C. Here's 16. He says all you got to do in 16 is add this include. In here, he says I added with the others at line 494, so they're all together, but he doesn't think it matters. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter either. And that should really be it. He says the only issue he's found is if the screen bytes are loaded in the post screen load, then you need to move them into the extra screen load, i.e. somewhere before the switch to bank 16. So we'll go down here. There's the includes that he was talking about. Add that include. And you can put something in here really quick like do load screen overflow. data bank boomerang or something like that. I don't know, something cool like that, I guess. And save that. Now we have to make sure that is going to be where we point our bank 16. So you go here to the bank 16 because we did make the copy of it. Edit to that copy. I didn't even realize I have banks right here. Oh man. Gotta put the bank in there. I'm gonna do that really quick. I'm gonna move 1C as well, so let's do that. Banks. Point my 1C there. I'll point my 16 there. Alright, now I think we should just need to compile it and things should be fine. Alright, now let's test this baby out. Everything should have compiled fine. Game didn't crash. As you see, everything's working as per usual. Bomb that real quick, show you that. What? It didn't bomb. That's wild. Let's double check that. Just weird, unexpected behavior. It actually just blows up. Let's reset it and show. Didn't change anything. Just that time it just didn't want to blow it up. I don't know. Whatever. It was some weird unexpected behavior, I guess. Makes you second guess stuff though when weird unexpected behavior happens. I was double checking this, double checking this, I was double checking everything. It's like, what's going on here? So anyway, now that that's worked, let's compile the game. We should check in that and see if we saved any space. Back in the emulator folder, NES space checker. See, I made a copy of the before. Here's after. 22%. Okay, so here's this one. See if I can open up another instance of it to show us. And then we're going to open up the before. And you could see the difference. As you see, 16 is more full now. Nothing else should be changed. All it was doing was changing to 16. There we are. So that saved us plenty of space. I know this tutorial is getting long, so we're going to, I guess, split it up into 3 parts. So there we are, the end of part A. Please like and subscribe the video. I'm about to make part B. And following that, I'm going to make part C. It's going to be 3 parts to one really cool end. So I hope that you stay tuned and enjoy these videos. Thank you.